Let me share a few thoughts about the neuroscience of intelligence. In this session, we will define terms. In coming sessions, we will further try to define the anatomy and the physiology behind intelligence. Brain is our interface between body and soul. Let's define intelligence. Intelligence can be defined as the ability to respond meaningfully to information. Now, who has intelligence? All life is intelligent. Even unicellular organisms can sense danger and move away from adverse stimuli. They can also sense food and move towards it. Plants grow their roots towards water. They present their leaves to sunlight for photosynthesis. Higher animals have more cognition in their intelligence cycle, but all living creatures are intelligent. What are the components of intelligence? See, there are three components. The first is the information input. The second is information processing. And third is the response. Let's have a brief overview of learning. In learning, there are three echelons. Basic learning is information assimilation. Then we move on to knowledge acquisition. And ultimately, we aim to have wisdom. Information acquisition involves the assimilation of extrinsic information. We are born with some innate information, but in addition to that, we pick up information from the environment. Extrinsic information enters our cognitive pathway through the sensory portals. We have vision, and humans are visually dominant. Hearing, many animals have very evolved and acute hearing. Bats, in fact, use ultrasound waves which they bounce off objects. Touch and vibration. Snakes sense vibration to detect movement. And taste and olfaction are also important sensory portals. Knowledge is information which is stored by reinforcement, that is repeated inputs, by application, and by feedback of the results of the application. Knowledge involves not only the cognitive knowledge, but also the evolution of skills. What is wisdom? That is a little more difficult to define. Wisdom is knowledge that is tempered with values. Character and values are heritable in our four circuits. We are born with a personality. Ask any neonatologist, each child has a personality. This character and values are influenced and nuanced by the environment. So the information response pathway includes an input, it includes processing, and it involves a response. Continuing with our discussion on learning, we are not born with an empty slate. There is information pre-recorded in our brain. The child's cry, the animal's mew, they are pre-recorded characteristics. We are also born with definite movement patterns. The crawling of a child, an adult walks, birds fly. Feeding patterns, a newborn reaches for the mother's breast for succulence. Learning occurs after birth. Learning is both passive and volitional. Passive learning occurs from the environment. Volitional learning is selective learning. Learning can also be considered as both structured and unstructured. Structured learning is education. Unstructured learning is from the environment. Learning is selective. As we develop an interest, we learn more about a particular facet. Learning is sequential. Each layer of learning prepares the template for the next layer. Specialization involves focus and learning in sequence. Reinforcement involves repeated inputs on a topic which help mature our knowledge. And the application of knowledge is finally what cements it. Let's talk about the contentious topic of aptitude. Aptitude is the ability to learn. The ability to learn is both inherited and evolved. We can evolve an attitude by using discretion in our selection of inputs. We can evolve aptitude by evolving templates where each layer of learning facilitates the next. In skills, we learn to walk after we crawl. We learn to run, and then finally we can do acrobatics. Inheritance of learning is like inheritance of the phenotype. There is no denying that species have phenotypic similarity. There is racial similarity. Families tend to look similar, and we tend to look like our parents. In a similar manner, even the cognitive potential is heritable. Now, evolution of these heritable factors is the method of evolution that happens today. Today, with rules and regulations of society, natural selection no longer plays a role. What we learn is what we pass on to our children. I'm not saying that skills which are learned are passed on. What we can pass on to our children is probably the ability to learn. There is evidence of this. Mice which are exposed to cherry blossom odor and then subject to electric shocks show a fear response when their progeny show a fear response when they are exposed to the odor, even if they have never felt shocks. Hunger winter was the Hungarian winter where Russian blockade causes starvation. The metabolism of many generations after that evolved to conserve nutrients and obesity became a problem. Communities at war will have children who have the scars of war in their genes. Criminality, is it heritable? Can it be evolved? Can criminality be corrected as a characteristic? These are contentious.